Let's talk about United in a positive way. First of all, shall we, Dave? Miles isn't here to kind of shed some light on what Villa's shortcomings were. But United coming back from 2-0 down at half time. Patrice Evra said in the studio, didn't he, for Amazon, that he could see if United continued the way they were going, that they were going to pull this game back. And they did. It's like Nostradamus, wasn't he, in the studio? And I think on WhatsApp, you were saying the same to me. They're playing all right. If they keep going, they're going to score. But that comeback, that 3-2, was reminiscent of some of the turnarounds we've seen in the last decade, isn't it? Last 15 years of the Ferguson era. And I think we're one of the most prolific clubs in history at turning games around in that fashion. But we haven't seen it for so long that it felt like we didn't have that kind of bottle. But I think this game proves that some of these players, in particular Garnacho, Rasmus Hojlund with his winning goal, have got what it takes really, the determination to kind of dig deep when needed to. It was kind of a much needed result for United, wasn't it? And for fans to see as well.
Yeah, I mean, firstly on those comments, I think those comments kind of ring true when you speak about United teams of the past. I think the shocking thing for me, really, and for I can imagine a lot of United fans, is that nothing really showed that that was particularly possible or that was going to happen. We've not seen anything from United over the last few months, arguably the last 2 or 3 years, to suggest that they're going to come up with those kind of comebacks. And I think that's why it was such a surprise to see them play the
Mm.
way that they did, I think, in that second half. Obviously, Villa were a shadow of themselves in that second half. They looked like the toll had been taken on them, really, particularly over the last few weeks. They've had some massive games and some draining games as well. They actually navigated the first, I think, 25, half an hour of the game quite well.
Yeah.
But there were signs, to be honest, from United. They were starting to win the ball back further up the pitch. They were forcing Villa into unforced errors and turnovers where you wouldn't normally see that. Um, and then for me, I think the most impressive thing is that's the best I think we've pressed the team for a long while in terms of
Yeah.
collectively, not just individuals. We're actually kind of pressing higher up the pitch and cutting those sort of passing lanes, and actually, I think making players think twice about playing certain passes, and that creates doubt in the opposition minds, and I think that's what forced the mistakes. I know a lot of people will say, there was a couple of players that were missing in Boubacar Kamara and obviously Pau
Yeah.
Torres, who vital to the way that Villa play. But I mean, you can only beat what's in front of you. I think particularly the way that United. I think the thing that a lot of people are probably questioning is where that belief came from in the second half, because this has looked like a team that's been completely devoid of belief, and it's just something we've kind of been asking for, at least a
Mm.
performance. If we can't get a win, it's just completely been lacking from this team
Well, with
for a while, and fans have grown impatient. So to see the performance that they put in, particularly in the second half, was brilliant.
Well, to see the goals for Villa go in, I mean, it was typical United defensive lapsing, wasn't it, really? With obviously McGinn's goal going straight in from a free kick. Onana should really deal with that, or a defender should deal with that. Someone should just get some contact on it and get rid of it. But then also the second goal, I just think that both the goals were just so clumsy to concede, and I think that's why you're trying to make the point that United this season so far would have just let that game get away from them, wouldn't they, normally? And they didn't. So they got to half time just about and came out. I'm guessing because there were a few words said in the dressing room at half time from Ten Hag. And I think he almost hinted to say that, you guys are playing okay. Some of the balls you're playing are just missing the timing just. And I think that's what the secret was for me. United could sense that high line from Villa, played it really well in terms of the timing of the passes. In the first half, some of the passes from like Bruno Fernandes and Christian Eriksen were offside. They weren't catching the run right of the forward, or they were just a little bit too hard and weren't quite the right pace. But in the second half, most of the passes we played seemed to create a dangerous attack. And we're one of the few teams, I think, to exploit Villa's high line for our benefit. And United have got the potential to do that with the players we've got. And I think a couple of the players that really took advantage of that were Marcus Rashford, who seemed to come back to form in some way in this game, didn't he? He wasn't perfect by any means, but he really enjoyed this game, I think. And that's the first time I've seen him enjoy a game for a long time. But Alejandro Garnacho, what a performance from him, man of the match, and he's just a world class player in the making, isn't he? His 2 goals were like the cherry on the cake for him.
Absolutely, and like like I mentioned to you, I said that obviously United team probably of last season, the way that Villa play is probably tailor made for them, and that
Mm,
they expose those sort of opportunities that come to them in behind. And Rashford probably, if of last season, will probably have got himself a goal in this game, or created a couple more. I think he still looks a little bit rusty in certain moments, but I think there was definitely reason for optimism in this game. He just looked more himself. He looked more tuned in,
mm,
aware of his surroundings, and he was looking for those balls in behind. And obviously, got a really good assist. I have to be slightly critical of him for that disallowed goal, because I just think he made the wrong decision in playing the ball through there. There was still quite a lot for Garnacho to do there, and did really well to finish, to be honest. But obviously, it was very marginally onside. But I think if he just carry on running, it would have been a simple tap in, because there was a massive space there really for him to run into, and in ways it was quite similar to actually the first goal, really, in the way it came about. Obviously, it was the same combination again. Um, but we've spoken about obviously Garnacho and his potential over the last few weeks. Looked great in this game. Another player I think is worth mentioning is probably Christian Eriksen, because he's come into this game and all of a sudden United look a lot more composed on the ball. They look more controlled when they're in possession, and just the IQ and intelligence that he has about his game is it's just another level than any other player in the team. And that's something that we've mentioned about United as a team. I think they do lack a little bit of sort of game intelligence,
yeah,
in the way of controlling games. And then two other players who's actually, one of them's had a lot of stick. I think Diego Dallo had a brilliant performance.
yeah.
I think very balanced as well. I thought he played really well, carrying the ball forward, defensively really good. And then Kobe Mainoo, well, I thought had a great game again, particularly the second half.
Yeah,
I thought second half he was an absolute monster in midfield. I think he won like 5 aerial duels out of 6 as well, which is crazy.
yeah.
He doesn't look like a particularly imposing guy, does he?
No,
Um,
well, it's just a mature
he's
display, wasn't it, all round? And it's not his first this season.
absolutely, it looks like a guy beyond his years, really, doesn't he? How he plays the game, he knows when to slow it down. He knows when to keep hold of the ball and play it backwards if it needs to, if it needs to just calm the game, and he knows when to play it forwards. He's got a real eye for the pass as well, as we've seen in the last couple of weeks. And
Mm.
it's encouraging. I feel like we've been around this course before, haven't we? When we get optimistic and we get excited about our
Yeah.
performance, and then we go perform absolutely terribly the next game. So I think you just got to take it a game at a time.